What's up, space pirates? This is your Admiral, the decidedly debonair Dr. Disaster. And the more I learn about the Switch 2, the more my excitement gradually dies and is replaced with a desire to wrinkle my nose and say,
"What the hell am I looking at?"
Things like this here really make me roll my eyes when it comes to this system. Digital Foundry has announced that the Switch 2 is roughly as powerful as the PS4 and that you can expect to see a PS4 level of experience with games like FF7 Remake, Elden Ring, and Hogwarts Legacy. And to be fair, I've always said that graphics aren't the most important thing in games, and I've even praised Nintendo for not making that their focal point. After all, there's nothing wrong with a PS4. I still play games on that system, but here's the thing, if I wanted to buy one, a PS4, I could pick one up for a lot less than $200, and when you consider what Nintendo is charging for the Switch 2 and their games, well, yikes.
You know what? This is bullshit.
The initial announcement video for the Switch 2 had me on cloud 9. All the new features looked great to the point that I was a guaranteed day one purchaser and advocate for the system, but everything that I've learned about this new system ever since has been negative. There has been virtually zero good news about the Switch 2 ever since then, and I think that this launch will go down as one of the most mismanaged console launches that we have seen in a long while, culminating in the news we talked about earlier where the Nintendo of America president told us that if you can't afford a Switch 2, then you should just buy a Switch 1.
I'm so sick of these people. You know, oh!
Well, hot on the heels of this news that the president of Nintendo of America wants to blame gamers for not being fabulously wealthy, now we are getting news of another scheme of the company to try to maximize what they make you pay for. On the Switch, when you plugged in a retro-style controller, it allowed you to use it on all their games, recognizing it as a Pro controller. But on the Switch 2, the new announced Gamecube controller that they are releasing will reportedly only be compatible with the GameCube games in the GameCube Nintendo Classics that you get access to for subscribing to Nintendo Switch Online. So, they are asking $60 for a controller that can only be used if you pay for their subscription service.
Are you running a high fever, man? How could you conceive of something so idiotic?
I'm sorry. Would you please still be my friend?
Alright, me hearties, make sure that you hit the like button on this video, share it with your friends, subscribe to the channel if you haven't yet, and don't forget to follow me over on X, where I keep a list of games lousy with woke crap pinned to the account at all times for your reference. My handle over there is Dr. Disaster 1. But alrighty, let's dig into this Nintendo GameCube controller situation, which is just another in a long line of reasons why I am becoming completely disenchanted with Nintendo right now. Like I said before, I'm okay with them not necessarily being on the cutting edge of graphics or anything like that. I just want fun and memorable experiences, which Nintendo delivers, and traditionally, at least in the semi-recent future, they have been a lot cheaper than the likes of Sony and Microsoft. So you were able to get all this fun for a lower price tag. However, charging me more than what people are paying for a PS5 these days for a system that is roughly on par with the PS4? Well, that really sits in my craw, especially when you consider all this talk that we have gotten from these Nintendo executives justifying the higher prices on everything because of the so-called quality of these experiences. if they want to argue that they employ better developers than most other studios, I could generally agree with that. The people working on software at Nintendo are quite clever and come up with ways to engage players using outdated and strange tech all the time, and that is impressive. But when you start to add up all the costs that are associated with rocking a Switch 2 at this point, I'm struggling to imagine a world where the cleverness of Nintendo developers justifies the inflated prices. Case in point, we got this GameCube controller whose price tag is reportedly $60, which is outrageous considering its limitations. But let's read about those limitations in this article here from IGN. Switch 2 GameCube controller appears to be compatible with GameCube Classics only, according to Nintendo small print. Nintendo GameCube is coming to Nintendo Switch Online alongside the launch of the Nintendo Switch 2 with a classic controller on the way too, but some small print indicates that Nintendo's new GameCube controller for the Switch 2 may only officially be meant for GameCube use. Spotted in the details of the UK version of the Switch 2 GameCube controller trailer, a statement read, "The controller is only compatible with Nintendo GameCube, Nintendo Classics." This would indicate the GameCube controller is only going to work properly when playing GameCube games on the Switch 2 Online expansion pack and not other Switch 2 games. Now, let's be real about why this might be the case. With a few games, of course, the GameCube controller doesn't have enough buttons to actually play them, but that isn't the reason behind this. The only good reason to prevent players from using a controller like this on the rest of the system is because Nintendo knows that a lot of players love the GameCube controller, and they know this would cause them to lose a lot of sales on their Pro controllers. So, just to reiterate, in order to use this controller, you have to shell out $60 to buy it, and you have to pay for a subscription service, and then it is only usable on games that are 20 years old. How is this in any way worth it? How can Nintendo confidently say that this is a good value purchase? And the truth is that it just plain isn't. The good news is that apparently the old GameCube controller adapter will work with the Switch 2 dock using the USB ports. So, if you're like me and you still have your old GameCube controllers, and if you purchased a GameCube controller adapter for the Wii U, well, that has certainly turned out to be a worthwhile investment. This is now the third console where that thing has worked. But this begs the question, why in the hell would I ever buy this new controller that Nintendo is trying to shovel onto us? Right now on eBay, you can pick up an OEM GameCube controller for $30 to $35, and you can grab a GameCube controller adapter for around $40. This means that for only $10 to $20 more than this GameCube controller that they're trying to sell, I can have a rig set up to play, which supposedly isn't being limited in what games it is usable on. And also, if you wanted to play with 4 GameCube controllers on the Switch, it is much cheaper to go this route. And to top it off, for people like me, who are collectors and who enjoy the nostalgia of having the authentic originals, well, this is definitely the way to go. Once again, Nintendo is shitting in their own cereal here. But I'm gonna leave it there. Drop your contempt for this company trying to nickel and dime us all into the comment section below, and we will talk there. Thanks for watching me, Hearties. If you haven't already, your Admiral is inviting you to subscribe to the channel and become a part of the crew. Life as a space pirate may not be glamorous, but there's always plenty of booty.